I call the Senate to order. Ms. Clerk, please read the roll.
Barnett, Barrett, Blackman, Blackwell, Blunt, Boyd, Branning, Bryan, Butler to 36, Butler to 38, Carter, Kaufman, Chazanall, Chisholm, DeBar, Delano, England, Fillingane, Frazier, Harkins, Hickman, Hill, Hobson, Horn, Jackson, Johnson, Jordan, Kirby, McCon, McDaniel, McLendon, McMahon, Michelle, Moran, Norwood, Parker, Parks, Pope, Seymour, Simmons of the 12, Simmons of the 13, Sojourner, Spark, Suber, Tate, Thomas, Thompson, Turner, Ford, Whaley, Wiggins, Williams, Younger. Mr. President, a quorum is present.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Will the senators and guests in the gallery please rise for the invocation to be given by Reverend Tommy Temple, who is a pastor of the First Baptist Church in Maben, Mississippi, who is a guest of Senator Chuck Younger. Senator Younger will then do the Pledge of Allegiance. Reverend Temple.
To go to the Lord in prayer, I want to thank you, first of all. My father passed away about 10 years ago. He practiced law in Meridian for 50 years, and y'all had a prayer for me and my family during that time. And just wanted to thank you for doing that. Now I want to be able to pray for you. Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Father God, we thank you for these men and women that are here, God, giving of their time. Father, just bless them as they meet together, God. Just everything they do, let it be pleasing and honoring to you. I pray for them and their families as well. I pray, God, while they're away from home, that their family just sense their love. And, Father, that they just continue to reach out to each other and love each other. And, God, again, just thank you for the day. Thank you for life that you've given us. Again, be with this session now, God, and just remind each person here that you love them. And, God, just help them to do your will. It's in Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Say the pledge with me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah. Thank you much, Reverend Temple. Appreciate you. Now to the reading of the journal. Senator Polk, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate dispense with reading of the journal.
Senator moves to dispense with the reading of the journal. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Message and petitions, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. President, there are none.
Committee reports. Senator Polk, you're recognized.
Mr. President, I move the Senate dispense with the reading of the committee reports.
Senator moves to dispense with the reading of the committee reports. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Next to the reading of the titles of the bills and resolutions, recognize Senator Polk.
Mr. President, I move the Senate dispense with the reading of the titles of the bills and resolutions.
Senator moves to dispense with the reading of the titles of the bills and resolutions. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Introduction of guests. Senators, any guest? Any guest? Seeing none, we'll proceed to the calendar. Number one, appropriations. Thank you, Senator Hobson. Passes 1 through 12. Finance, Senator Harkins passes 13 through 30. All of those retain their place upon the calendar. Rules, Senator Kirby. Pass on the rules calendar 31 through 45, and they retain their place upon the calendar. I'm sorry, through 56. Senator Kirby, you're busy here. Through 66, through 67, retains its place upon the calendar. Local and private, Senator McMahon. Passes on 68, 69, and 70. Thank you, Senator McMahon. Chairman Harkins. Pass on 71, non-concurrence. General bills, 72. It's in conference, 73. Pass, Senator McCon. 74, Senator Michelle. 74, Senator Michelle passes. 75. Senator Michelle. Pass on 75, and it retains its place upon the calendar. 76, Senator Kaufman. Passes. Senator Chazanall, 77. Senator Chasnow is recognized. Senate on number 77.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to go to that item, call it up, and ask the title be read.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
House Bill number 1093, Peer Committee, required to review effectiveness of the Mississippi Development Authority Tourism Advertising Fund.
I make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed, Senator Chasnow.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the House version of a bill we had in the Senate that allows the Peer Committee to direct MDA to do due diligence and observe the way the tourism department is spending the money from the advertising fund, and it allows them to hire outside people if necessary to do so, and that an MDA will have to pay for this oversight, and I think it's a good bill, so if there are no questions, I ask that we pass it by use of the afternoon roll call.
Questions on the bill? Seeing none, senators request the utilization of afternoon roll call. Anyone object to procedure? Wish to be recorded as voting no. Present. Seeing none, the bill passes unanimously. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Chairman Hill. We're on 78.
I'd ask to call up number 78 and have the title read.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
House Bill number 843, County or Municipal Medicare eligible employees make clarification regarding ability to receive certain supplemental compensation.
Make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed.
I'd like to adopt the strike all in lieu of the original bill, and first ask to explain the strike all.
You're recognized to explain the strike all, Senator.
Okay, we passed this bill in almost the same form last year, but because we used the word Medicare in the bill, the Fed said that we had to take the word Medicare out. So if you look on line 61, the pertinent language says the Board of Supervisors of any county or the governing authorities of any municipality may offer supplemental compensation to its employees or other persons otherwise eligible for the county or municipality's group insurance in an amount to be determined from time to time by the county or municipality if such person declines coverage under the group insurance. However, in no event shall the supplemental compensation exceed the county or municipality's cost for such person to participate in the group insurance. Before such supplemental compensation may be provided in any year, the person shall on an annual basis provide verifiable proof of coverage under another permissible plan. So basically what this does is if an employee or somebody eligible for insurance at a county or city declines that policy, then the county may offer them a supplement in equal to but never above what that supplemental would cost the county. And each year, if somebody is taking another insurance and gets that supplement, they would have to provide proof of coverage on an annual basis to the county or the city before they could get that supplement. Do I have any questions?
Questions on the bill? Seeing none, Senator, we're ready for your motion.
Thank you. This was just cleanup language, so if there are no other questions, I'd ask for passage on the afternoon roll
We have
call.
to pass the strike.
I'd adopt the strike all.
Adopt the strike all. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no.
Okay, now I'd like for adoption on the morning roll call.
The morning roll call's been requested.
Afternoon roll call.
Afternoon is correct. Afternoon regular roll call has been requested. Anyone object to procedure? Should be recorded as voting no. Present. Seeing none, the bill passes. Thank you, Senator Hill. 79, Senator Hill.
Yes.
One moment, please.
Yes, 79. I'd ask the title be read.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
House Bill number 1017, Justice Court Clerk, authorize 2 or more counties to enter into an agreement for the appointment of a.
Okay, let me grab this bill. Make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed.
Okay, I'd like to explain House Bill 1017.
You're recognized to explain.
Okay, basically all this does is allow the boards of supervisors in 1 or more counties to basically share a justice clerk, justice court clerk for both counties, and that they would set the compensation that each county would provide, and they would enter into this mutual agreement if they so choose. They're not required to. And what has happened is we've had some justice court clerk judges retire and resign in some of the smaller counties, and they are having a hard time replacing that person. So this is what this has been asked for. Some of the Delta counties have asked for this. So I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Questions on the bill? Questions on the bill?
There are no questions. I'd ask for passage on the afternoon roll call.
Use of the afternoon roll call has been requested. Anyone object to the procedure? We should be, of course, voting no. Present. Seeing none. Thank you, Senator Hill. Bill passes. Chairman Branning.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to go to item 80 on today's calendar and have the title read, please.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
House Bill number 80. Bradley R. Brad White, Madison, Mississippi, Executive Director of the Mississippi Department of Transportation, term effective July 1st, 2021, and set to expire April 1st, 2026.
Make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? No. The ayes have it. Please proceed, Senator.
Senate nomination number 80 is for Brad White as the Executive Director of the Mississippi Department of Transportation. And as the title said, it's for a term ending of April 2026. There was no negative information to report on Mr. White. It's really been a pleasure working with him so far. And I tell you, I've had so many meetings and so much information pushed my way. Anything I've asked for, he's provided. I believe I've helped several members get questions answered for your respective districts. Commissioner Simmons spoke on his behalf in committee where we did move the nomination forward. So I do believe the future of transportation in Mississippi is bright under his leadership. So if there are no questions, the motion will be that we do advise and consent on the afternoon roll call.
Senator Simmons.
Question, Mr. President.
Will you yield, Senator Branning?
Yes, I do.
Senator Simmons, you're recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Madam Chair, for all your work on highways and transportation. My vote today will not reflect Brad White's previous employer or who spoke on him in the committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Simmons. Anyone else? Anyone else? Okay, Senator Branning, apparently everybody likes roads and bridges. You're ready.
I move that we do advise and consent on the afternoon roll call.
By use of the afternoon roll call, by advise and consent. Anyone object to the procedure? Which will be, of course, voting no. Present. Bill passes. Congratulations, Brad White. Senator Branning.
I'd like to go to item 81 on today's calendar and have the title read, please.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
House Bill number 158, off-road vehicles, revised definitions of.
Make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed, Senator.
House Bill 158 is a companion bill to Senate Bill 2483 that passed this chamber unanimously earlier in the session. Just as a reminder, the purpose is to increase the width of recreational off-road vehicles, and it only applies to public property. Happy to answer questions. Otherwise, I move final passage on afternoon roll call.
All right. Questions on the bill? 81. Questions on the bill. Senator Polk, you're recognized for what purpose, sir?
Question.
Will you yield, Senator?
Yes.
Senator Polk is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Chairman. You said we passed a bill, a Senate bill, with this, basically the same information in it?
We did, Senator Polk. It was Senate Bill 2483.
Okay. And what's the status of that bill in the House?
It's still on, it's actually sitting on the House calendar as we speak.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Senator Hill, for what purpose, ma'am?
Just a question.
Question, Senator?
Yes.
Senator's recognized. Senator Hill.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I was trying to refresh my memory. This is off-road vehicles on public lands only, and we are requesting that they be wider than they are now.
That's correct. Some manufacturers have what they want to offer as a larger product to consumers. They want to bring that to Mississippi, but they notice that we have this restrictive law in our books. And even though it only applies to public property, they're just requesting that we do amend this so they can bring a different product.
Okay, so this wouldn't affect the smaller vehicles that people already have, would it?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Other questions? Other questions? Seeing none, Senator Reddy.
Move final passage on the afternoon roll call.
Use of the afternoon roll call has been requested. Anyone object to the procedure? Should be called as voting no. Present. Thank you. 82, Senator.
I'd like to go to that item called up, have the title read, please.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
House Bill number 1073, Bridges and Culverts, revised laws regarding.
Make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed, Senator.
I'd like Senator Williams to be recognized to handle the bill, please.
Senator, you're recognized. Senator Bart Williams.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 1073 is a very short bill. It's basically a conforming language. What it does is it takes out of statute specific design specifications on culverts as it pertains to bridges, and it basically will adopt industry standards. What that means is if standards were to change through the year, that when that design is done, the industry standards will be followed at that point, not what's hard in statute. I have checked with the Road Builders Association. They are in favor of this bill, and our newly appointed commissioner, he is in favor of this bill as well. I would be glad to entertain any questions if there are any.
Questions on the bill?
If there are no
Seeing
questions, I would
none.
move by passage by the afternoon roll call, Mr.
Use of the
President.
afternoon roll call has been requested. Anyone object to the procedure? Court is voting no. Present. Seeing none, bill passes. Thank you, Senator Williams. Senator Branning, you're recognized.
I'd like to go to item 83 on today's calendar, House Bill 1486, called up, have the title read,
Mr.
please.
Clerk, please read the title.
House Bill number 1486, CDLs require Commissioner of DPS to provide for waivers of certain tests.
Make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Please proceed, Senator.
The purpose of this bill is to allow the Department of Public Safety to promulgate rules to issue waivers of certain CDL tests for service members who receive training during their military career, and it actually passed the House unanimously. You'll see the language, the noteworthy language beginning on line 47. It actually will reduce the time and cost to allow these certain individuals to receive their CDL. I think this is going to help on the trucking shortage. The Department of Public Safety supports this. It was brought forward by Colonel McDaniel of the National Guard, and the Truckers Association is also very supportive. Happy to yield for questions. Otherwise, the motion is final passage on the afternoon roll call.
Questions on the bill? Seeing none, Senator has requested use of the afternoon roll call. Anyone object to the procedure? Wish to be recorded voting no? Present? Seeing none, the bill passes. Thank you, Senator Branning. Chairman Whaley. Chairman Whaley passes on 84 and 85. Chairman Moran, you're recognized. Chairman Moran passes on 86. Take it back. He's here. All right, we're back on 86, Chairman Moran.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to call up item 86, House Bill number 972, and have the title read, please.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
House Bill number 972, bottomland leasing for oyster production, create a pilot program for.
Make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed,
I'd
Senator.
like to recognize
Senator Thompson.
to explain the bill, please.
Senator Thompson, you're recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 972 proposes crafting a oyster lease pilot program for the state of Mississippi. The idea being that currently most of our oyster bottoms are managed exclusively by the state. This would allow the Department of Marine Resources to lease out certain areas to private developers for the cultivation, harvesting, and processing of oysters. During committee, Council and I discussed a potential conflict with another code section where the original language, that's in section 2 of the bill before you, the original language referred to the Commission of Marine Resources. That commission is an advisory commission now. So this revision in section 2 of the bill authorizes the Department of Marine Resources to lease out the oyster bottoms. That's a brief explanation of the bill. I'd be happy to answer any questions. If not, move for passage on the afternoon roll call.
Senator Moran. Okay, Senator, I think we got to adopt the strike-all first.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. Move to adopt the strike-all.
Senator Sojourner, for what purpose, ma'am?
For a question,
Will you
Mr.
yield
President.
Senator Thompson for a
Yes.
question?
Thank you, Senator Thompson. I know this is a 3/5 bill,
Hold on, what,
right? It's a 3/5 bill, correct? The vote.
oh, I would think that it would be, well,
And that's because of the license, is that correct?
no, this isn't the license bill. This is simply to authorize the Department of Marine Resources to create a pilot program to lease out certain areas of oyster bottom.
Okay, so what makes it a,
I think the only thing that could make it the three-fifths vote for this bill would be the revenue created by the oyster, by those bottom leases.
it's a new revenue stream being created, is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
And so what is the amount of money then that could possibly, I mean, like, where's the fee coming from? So if it, I know it's a pilot program, but if it's going to create a new revenue stream, how much, like, what is that fee?
It's $2 per acre.
$2 per acre by the fishermen to the DMR.
To DMR, and then per the bill, that money goes into the seafood fund.
Okay, and what are they currently being charged to harvest those oysters?
Well, right now, the oyster fisherman does not pay a lease for the bottom. That bottom's managed by the state. The fisherman pays a
Okay.
license fee, and then he pays a certain amount of money per sack, $1 per sack, back to the state.
Okay, so the fishermen currently harvesting are not being charged, but if the program were to go into effect, they would be charged $2.
No, just the leaseholder would be charged the $2 per acre. And Senator Sojourner, you bring up an interesting question.
Okay.
Right now, there are no oysters on those bottoms. And the state spent some money and has made some efforts. 8 miles south of here.
Gentlemen.
I've got hundreds of acres that are managed by a private operator that are abundant. This is an effort to try to lease out some of that area.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator Sojourner. Other questions on the bill? Other questions on the bill? Okay, on the strike-all, I'm sorry. Senator,
No further questions. Move for a passage on the afternoon roll call.
you have to adopt the strike-all first, sir.
Oh, I thought we adopted the strike-all. Move to adopt the strike-all.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. We're on the bill now, Senator.
Ask for final passage on the afternoon roll call.
Use of the afternoon roll call has been requested. Does anyone object to the procedure? Wish to be recording as voting no. Present. Hickman. Sojourner. McDaniel. Anyone else? Hill, present. Present. Simmons, present. Anyone else? Anyone else? Seeing none, the bill passes. Thank you, Senator.
Okay.
87, Senator Moran.
Yes, item number 87 on today's calendar, House Bill 1057. Call that title up and have it read, please.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
House Bill number 1057, Department of Marine Resources provides acreage of bottom authorized to be leased by.
Make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed, Senator Moran.
I'd like to ask Senator Thompson to explain
Senator
the
Thompson,
bill.
you're recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This will be my last oyster bill of the day. House Bill 1057 revises current law to, again, number one, clarify that it's the department that has the authority to lease out and to manage the state oyster bottoms as opposed to the Commission for Marine Resources. And then if you look on lines 22 and 23 of the bill, it increases the area that the department could lease from 500 to 3,500 acres. That's an explanation of the bill, and if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Not move for passage.
Senator Hill, you're recognized for what purpose, ma'am?
Question.
Were you for a question?
Maybe I can hear this time.
Yes.
This bill is wanting to increase the acreage of bottom land that they can lease. So what is taking place now on the bottom land that you're wanting to expand the lease to?
Right now, there are no leases from the state, from the Department of Marine Resources to oyster farmers.
Okay, so.
No bottom leases. There
And
are-
I'm not well-versed on all the fishing regulations, but can people fish those bottom lands now, or is it off limits?
There's nothing there to
So
catch.
there's no beds there. This would just be able to increase the seating of the beds in a greater portion of the bottom land?
And it would allow private oystermen to lease those bottoms and to culture them and plant them and harvest them and manage them themselves.
Okay, so right now, there's no harvesting going on in the lands that we're talking about increasing for leasing?
Senator Hill, and since the Bonnie Carey spillway floods in 2019, we had a 97% oyster mortality, and we have not been able to bring back any of the bottom leases.
Thank you.
Other questions? Seeing none, we're ready for your motion, Senator.
Move for final passage on the afternoon roll call.
Final passage of request for use of more afternoon roll call. Anyone object to procedure? Which will be recorded as voting no. Present. Seeing none, the bill passes. Senator Moran.
Item 90, please, House Bill 1130. Make usual motion. Call the title up and have it read, please.
First, we have to skip 88 and 89, and they
Yes.
retain their place on the calendar. Number 90. Please read the title,
Read the
Mr.
title.
Clerk.
House Bill number 1130, Department of Marine Resources revised license issued for seafood dealers and seafood processors.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed, Senator.
I'd like to ask Senator Thompson to explain the last bill for us today.
Let's go, Senator. You're recognized, Senator Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the combination seafood dealer and processor license bill that we passed out of here a few weeks ago. Under current law, seafood dealers and processors, there's a combination license for them. The issue that's come up is that dealers, who are your retailers, who you're buying from, are subject to the same regulations as the processors. This would create separate licenses for dealers and processors, and so that the regulations that apply to them would be clear. That's an explanation of the bill, and with that, if there are no questions, I move for passage.
Questions on the
afternoon
bill?
roll call.
Seeing none, use of the afternoon roll call has been requested. Anyone object to the procedure? Wish to be recorded as voting no. Hill. Tate. McDaniel. Sojourner. Chisholm. Suber. Branning. Barrett. Anyone else? Seeing none, the bill passes. Thank you, Senator Moran.
Thank you, Mr. President.
91, Chairman Parker. Chairman Parker is recognized. We're on 91.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to go to item 91, House Bill 720, have the title read.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
House Bill number 720, Mississippi Department of Employment Security, provide requirements related to fraud, prevention, detection, and recovery.
Make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
Thank you, Mr. President. What House Bill 720 does is it addresses an issue brought to me by several senators in this room. I think at least maybe 3 in here introduced the bill related to this. I know Senator Branning was one. I think Senator Chisholm was another. Basically what we saw during COVID is we saw some indiscretion in some of the unemployment benefits that were paid out. And so this is a suggestion from MDES to try to fill some of those problems. So in specific, this shall focus the department on prevention and detection of fraud with respect to the payment of unemployment insurance benefits and collection of tax contributions. It will do this, and the executive director shall have the right to pursue recovery of improper overpayments, shall have the right to require all employers to notify of an individual's refusal of an offer to work or an offer for suitable work. It shall authorize technological resources in a manner which shall facilitate reduction of fraud in unemployment insurance applications. It will authorize resources to verify by cross-match overpayments reported under state and federal law. It will create a regulation governing the frequency that new hire and incarceration verification is checked, basically meaning that if someone is now working, they shouldn't continue to receive unemployment benefits, or if they're incarcerated, of course, they should not be receiving unemployment benefits. It will also require or allow some cross-match requests to take place. That is a brief explanation of the bill. Again, this fills some problems the department has seen, and I think will make unemployment verification for claims more transparent. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Questions on the bill? Seeing none, we're ready for your motion.
A motion be passage on use of afternoon roll call.
Use of the afternoon roll call has been requested. Anyone object to procedure? We should be recorded as voting no. Present. Seeing none, your bill passes. Senator Parker. 92.
Go to item number 92 and have the title read.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
House Bill number 1323, Tallahatchie River Authority create.
Make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed. Senator Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is another bill that I believe Senator Chisholm had some interest in. What this does, this is from Representative Creekmore plus several others on the House side. What it does is it establishes the Tallahatchie River Authority, which will be a vehicle for protection and preservation of the river's integrity. The Tallahatchie River begins in Tippah County and flows 230 miles where it joins the Yallowbush and LaFleur. It runs through Tippah, Union, Lafayette, Tallahatchie, LaFleur, Quitman, Panola, and Marshall counties. And basically what this bill will do is, subject to the Board of Supervisors of a county deciding to do so, they shall spread on their minutes a desire for the board to have each one of the counties represented on a board to look at the Tallahatchie River. Board members shall serve without pay except for their actual travel expenses. They shall meet and organize in Charleston, Mississippi. If desired, they can seek to have an executive director to look after the needs of the Tallahatchie River Authority. And specifically, this authority will look to do projects such as tourism, economic development, forestry, drainage and land reclamation, bank stabilization, electric power utilization, water conservation, recreation, and public health and education along the Tallahatchie River. As many of you know, the Tallahatchie River has had some notable events over the years. William Faulkner wrote heavily about the Tallahatchie River. Sardis Lake was constructed when it was fed by the Tallahatchie River, and Emmett Till was found dead in the Tallahatchie River And of course, his death and the trial for his murder sparked the civil rights movement in the United States. So again, this comes from our friends in that area as a desire to work together to improve this authority. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Senator Jordan, for what purpose you seek recognition?
I have a question, Mr. President.
Senator Parker?
Certainly.
Senator Jordan, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Parker, are you aware of the facts where the Yazoo River and the Tallahatchie River meets there in Greenwood, that 1863, 64, that the big vessel was sank in that area, headed to Vicksburg during the time General Grant was down there? That would be a true attraction if it could be lifted out of those rivers and put on display. It's still down there. It's been down there almost 200 years, 150 years or plus, where Tallahatchie and the Yazoo River come together. It's right in that area. We have a cannon placed there so people will know where that ship sank, that boat sank that was on its way to Vicksburg to help General Grant in the Civil War, where the Civil War ended in Vicksburg. There's a lot of history down there. I wish at some point in dealing with the Tallahatchie River that this could be brought up. Of course,
I certainly agree with you, Senator. I know I've enjoyed spending some time with you over at the Civil Rights Museum and just hearing your stories. I'm not aware of the vessel you're talking about, but I think this Tallahatchie River Authority would be a great group to kind of look at things like that and see how we can preserve that history and also, get the words of people who know the history better than the new generation to restore it.
well, this is basically Mississippi history, but what it would do for tourism, what I'm concerned about, what it would do for tourism at this time if we just could exhume it and see what it looked like more than 170, 80 years ago. There's so much history, and tourists would travel through Mississippi to see all these artifacts and things. Just an ideal. I don't know, since you're working on the Tallahatchie River and is noted for so many other things, Emmett Till, of course, and many others, but that, where they end in Greenwood, Tallahatchie and the Yazoo River come together, that's where that vessel is still down there.
I will take your word for it, and I do agree that's a good idea.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Seymour, for what purpose, sir?
Question, Mr. President.
Are you here for a question, Senator Parker?
Certainly.
Please proceed, Senator Seymour.
Senator, on this authority, the Tallahatchie, is there any of that is actually part of the Army Corps of Engineers right away? I mean, they have taken a lot of the floodplain
I would
from
think
above
that
Grenada Lake all the way down.
I don't know the answer to that, but I would see that this authority would be working in concert with the Corps of Engineers and any overlap that might occur there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Senator Seymour. Senator Hill, for what purpose, ma'am?
Question.
Are you here for a question, Senator
Certainly.
Parker?
Thank you.
Senator Hill,
And
you're recognized.
Council can better answer this since they have a lot of history. Is this created similar to how the Yellow Creek Port Authority, the Mississippi Hills area, the Delta Regional Authority, is it similar to the missions of those areas? Would you know that?
I don't know that. Council would probably be a better resource on that.
Okay, that's just my question. Would it be, similar to some of those geographic regional authorities with it? So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Senator Hill. Senator Sojourner, for what purpose, ma'am?
Question, Mr.
Are you here for a
President.
question, Senator Parker?
Thank you.
Senator Sojourner, recognized.
Thank you, Chairman Parker. I'm not super familiar with the bill, but I was just reading through it, and I just want to make sure. I don't think it's in there, but this authority would not have any eminent domain power. Is that correct?
And I went back through it to make sure, because I know a bill earlier It's been at least construed that that may be in that, and I'm working to make sure that comes out of that other bill. And I did not see anything in here at all that dealt with that. So
Thank you.
unless I'm misreading it, I did not see anything on that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Boyd, for what purpose, ma'am?
Question?
Were you for a question, Senator
Certainly.
Parker? Please proceed, Senator Boyd.
Just a friendly question. I'm familiar with this area. Who put this group together, or who is asking for this legislation?
It came to me from Representative Creekmore. I've had a pretty good talk with him, and he told me who it was in his region, but I don't recall right now who it is. He can give you a lot of information on it, though.
Thank you.
Sam Creekmore, yes.
Thank you, Senator Boyd. Senator Turner, for what purpose, ma'am?
Question?
Were you for a question, Senator Parker?
Certainly.
Please proceed, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I tried to scan the bill. Is there anything that determines the length of the term for the Board of Directors?
I don't think there is. I think they could, I think, you know, in the bill that I was referencing earlier, we did set up some provisions like that. I would guess that if they are going to set up an executive director, they would come up with some just internal rules to do that. But we're not setting that in the statute here. This is a very more loose kind of consolidation of the different county entities. It's not as formalized, if you know what I mean.
Isn't it typical when these types of authorities are created, the length of the term? Because I understand, first of all, the counties have to decide if they're going to participate. But isn't the length of the term usually designated by statute?
You know, again, Senator Hill mentioned a couple of other ones that I wasn't familiar with. You know, so I'm not familiar with another one like this, and so I don't have the answer to that question.
Would it be improper for us to amend the legislation to actually specify the term for the Board of Directors? Because it appears as though otherwise they serve indefinitely. And what authority would a Board of Supervisors have if they want to reappoint someone, or well, supervisors would change every 4 years potentially.
Right. And so in section 1, it says, subject to the Board of Supervisors of a county voting and spreading on the minutes the decision to participate. I think that implies that they would be, you know, revoting and deciding who is serving in that capacity. I think it gives them the authority to change who would be there through just on their minutes.
I'm not sure I interpret it that way. It seems to me, just based on what I read, once the appointment is made, it's just for an indefinite period of time, and there is no way to determine when the term would end. But that may be a question for council. I'm not sure. Thank you.
Thank you. They will serve without pay, so I don't see as much of an issue as if it were a paid board. Thank you, though.
Senator Whaley, for what purpose, sir?
Friendly question.
You yield, Senator?
Certainly.
Please proceed, Senator Whaley.
Thank you, Senator. You may have already answered this question one time, but I'm going to ask it again. The board members who are appointed, they're appointed by the Board of Supervisors, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And I know it lays out the counties that are involved in this, and it says that they may proceed and they may participate. Does that mean that they could get out at any time that they wished?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Senator Whaley. Other questions on the bill? Seeing none, we're ready for your motion, Senator Parker.
My suggestion would be passage on the use of the afternoon roll call.
This afternoon roll call has been requested. Anyone object to procedure? Which records voting no. Present. Seeing none, I'm sorry, Turner, present. Anyone else? Present, Sojourner. Present, McDaniel. Anyone else? Present, Hill. Anyone else? Anyone else? Seeing none, bill passes. Presence noted, Mr. Clerk. Chairman Fillingane. Number 93 on the calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to go to item 93, called up and have the title read.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
House Bill number 679, Mississippi Appeal Press Act of 2022, create.
Make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed.
I move that we adopt this strike all in lieu of the original bill and that you recognize Senator Sparks to handle it.
Recognize to explain the strike all, Senator Sparks.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is very similar to a bill we passed earlier. We actually struck and put in our language. It's a Pill Press Law of 2022, and it is intended to address the possession and use with intent to produce a narcotic or a drug that will battle the fentanyl issue we have. So many of the things that are being produced with fentanyl appear to be a different drug, but this bill is a bill that we passed. This is our language inserted in this bill as a strike all. I'd be glad to yield any questions, Mr. President.
Questions on the bill? Seeing none, we're ready for your motion, Senator.
We would adopt the strike all would be my
Motion is to adopt the strike all. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. We're back on the bill.
If there are no questions, Mr. President, I'd move for passage on the afternoon roll call.
Questions on the bill? Seeing none, afternoon roll call has been requested. Anyone object to procedure? Wish to be recorded as voting no. Present? No. Sojourner? No. McDaniel? Anyone else? Simmons? No. No. Simmons? D. Anyone else? Seeing none, the bill passes. Senator Fillingane, you're recognized. 94.
I'd like to go to item 94, call it up and have the title read.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
House Bill number 604, DUI suspension, clarify how the 120 days are counted.
Make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed, Senator Fillingane.
I move that we adopt the strike all in lieu of the original bill and ask you to recognize Senator Sparks to handle
Senator
it.
Sparks, you're recognized to explain the strike all.
Mr. President, I would ask that we would call up the strike all amendment. We have a substitute amendment for the strike all. Have a substitute amendment for the strike all.
One moment, please. What's up? Need to adopt the strike all first. Just a second, Senator. We don't seem to have that.
That's all we have in the sleeve. We need another.
Can I have that page back? That's fine.
Instead of adopting the strike all, he's off.
Yes, Mr. President.
Okay, we're back on the substitute. And I think, do we have it up, Mr. Clerk? Okay, now we got the substitute up. All right, Senator Sparks, you're recognized to explain the substitute to the strike-all.
Thank you, Mr. President. The substitute to the strike-all is addressing one issue as it relates to the DUI laws. We have a 120-day suspension if someone is convicted of a DUI or is non-adjudicated, and unfortunately, these suspensions are not beginning in a uniform manner. So if you look, and I will ask on the screen to put up to line 127, line 127 to 134 simply says that the first day of any 120-day suspension shall begin to run on the date ordered by the judge, and such date shall not be less than 30 days from the judge's execution of the order, or on a date determined by the Department of Public Safety where the court order is silent as to a beginning date. In committee, there were some questions. Senator Hill had expressed that possibly the turnaround time would not be enough with the language that was in the original strike-all. So we put in this date of not less than 30 days, but basically we're allowing the judge to put everything else in the order, and in this particular situation, we're going to allow them to tell when the suspension shall begin. It does not change any penalty. It does not extend or lessen any suspension, and you see that language again on lines 512 through 520, which does the exact same thing. You will see.
One moment, Senator, we're getting it up on the screen. One moment, please, sir. Okay, there you go.
And for the purposes of this item 4, the first day of the 120-day suspension shall begin to run on the date ordered by the judge, a date not less than 30 days from the judge's execution of the order, or a date determined by the Department of Public Safety if the court order is silent. I have encouraged and will continue to encourage the Department of Public Safety to use uniform forms across the state, and it would avoid this problem. But we have 82 counties and numerous municipalities, and this will help clear up when the suspension should begin. The final provision on line 570 through 574 is not dealing with this issue. It is simply conforming language to our prior passed Senate Bill 2095, which was the marijuana primarily legislation, medical cannabis, and lines 570 through 574 is simply conforming language. I would yield to any questions, Mr. President, on the substitute amendment for the strike-all.
So I guess we didn't have any amendments to the... Okay, questions, please? Any questions? Seeing none, we're ready for your motion.
I would move to adopt the substitute amendment.
Motion is to adopt the substitute amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed, Senator.
If there are no further questions, I'd move for passage on the afternoon roll call.
As for afternoon roll call has been requested, anyone object to procedure, which you record as voting no. Present. Seeing none, the bill passes. Thank you, Senator Sparks. Chairman Barnett. Pass on 98. Chairman Pope. Chairman Pope. We're on 96, sir. Passed. Chairman Pope passes on 96, 97, 98, 99, 100. Chairman Barnett. We're on 101 on the calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that we call up that item and have the title read.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
House Bill number 919, MDOC required to establish a certain leasing policy with the DFA for agricultural equipment. Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that I call up the strike all and able
Make
to...
the usual motion
I'm
first,
sorry, the
sir.
senator makes the usual motion.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that we call up the strike all and be able to explain it.
You're recognized to explain the strike all.
Thank you, Mr. President. The strike all in this bill is that MDOC has been requested since Commissioner Kane has taken over to go back and start doing some agricultural things at the Department of Corrections, but he also wants the ability to be able to lease the equipment versus purchasing it because of the costs associated with buying the equipment and getting old and they have nobody that can work on it and all that. So he wants to be able to be like a lot of the county supervisors and others and lease the equipment so that
when he gets to date, he can return the equipment and gain new equipment so that he can have individuals working in and around Parchman, doing agricultural things. That's basically what this bill does. Just gives him the ability to lease agriculture equipment. And I'm open for any questions, Mr. President.
Question, Senator Jordan, you're recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Chairman, how much agriculture activities are going on over there now at this time, land-wise, and what do they grow, if anything?
Thank you, Senator Jordan. Right now, a lot of the land that's owned actually by Parchman is actually being leased to private farmers. And so the commissioner wants to start letting some of those individuals there be able to farm again in and around Parchman. And therefore, this is his idea of wanting to lease the equipment to be able to do that.
This doesn't mean that inmates will be participating in farm work, does it?
No, sir, this does not, this is not the old Parchman that we're talking about, Senator Jordan.
All right. Never been there, so I just inquired.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Senator. Any other questions? Any other questions? Senator Whaley, for what purpose, sir?
Question.
Are you here for a question, Senator Barnett?
No, sir.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Senator. Now, is this for it says it for the leasing of agricultural enterprises. Is this for the prison itself to farm, or is this taking land away from the farmers who are leasing it? What's this doing?
No, sir, this is actual agricultural land at Parchman that this equipment will be used on.
Who's working that land?
Right now?
Yes, sir.
Right now, it's just being leased. Some of it is being leased by private farmers, but not all of it.
Okay, so what is the farm equipment going to be used on? The part that's being leased or the part that's not being leased?
It'll be used on the part that's not being leased.
And who will be using that equipment?
The equipment will be used by the inmates at Parchman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Whaley. Other questions on the bill? Other questions? Seeing none? I'm sorry, Senator Seymour. You're recognized for what purpose, sir?
Question.
Are you for a question, Senator Barnett?
Yes.
Please proceed, Senator Seymour.
Mr. Chairman, is this being used like a pilot program? I mean, the investment of the equipment would be...
This exactly what it is. Not only will they be able to use it for the growing of the equipment, but also they would gain a knowledge of how to be able to operate this equipment that will help them with employment when they are being released as well.
So the director, if he sees this is not feasible, he's able to turn the equipment back in and the state ain't held with a big
Exactly.
note. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Senator Simmons. For what purpose, sir? I'm sorry, Senator Jackson. Wrong one. Wrong one, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. President. For a question?
Were you for a question, Senator?
No.
Come on.
Yes.
You're recognized, Senator Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator Barnett. My question is regards to the amount. Do you know how much the equipment, the amount they have budgeted in order to lease equipment?
I'm not sure what the exact amount is that they may have budgeted for the equipment, but we do know that it is cheaper to lease the equipment and be able to return it and keep, get new equipment like that versus buying it when we have no one there that can work on it if it breaks down. But if it does break down or whatever, then we have to call somebody in to work on it, which is going to cost the state more money. We just think that this is the best way to maximize state dollars as well as give individuals training and also be able to cultivate some of the land that is currently being not leased at Parchman.
Thank you. I don't doubt that, but I was just wondering, since we haven't been farming for a while, how much farming they plan to do, how much money they plan to spend on equipment, and how many acres they plan to till.
I'm not quite sure with all of that, but I do know that Senator Jackson, not only in Parchment, but across the whole spectrum there's a lot of people, whether it be manufacturing or industry or even agriculture, have reached out to me and wanting to help those individuals who are going to be released from prison because they're finding it hard to employ anyone now. And so this is just an opportunity to get some people trained as to how to use the equipment and to be able to grow things, and also maybe lead to employment when they're out. But we think that this is the best way to do it, leasing it versus buying it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Jackson. Senator Hill, for what purpose, ma'am?
Question.
Were you for a question, Senator?
No.
Come on, this is a good one.
Maybe.
You're
I
recognized.
think
Senator
one of my
Hill.
questions already been answered about the leasing, and I agree. I think that's a better way to do it. And I guess, Senator, with all these supply chain shortages and things that we're seeing going on in the world, I think that there may be never be a better time than to try to teach these inmates how to sustain themselves and to use this equipment as a workforce development plan, to where when they get out, they can go row crop if they want to, or they can supervise once they learn this equipment. I think it's a valuable skill, and we're not in the days of pickaxe and shovels anymore, so this is very sophisticated farming, correct?
Exactly.
Thank you. I appreciate your work on it.
Thank you, Senator Hill.
Thank you, Senator Hill. Senator Barnett, we're ready for your motion, sir.
If there's no other question, Mr. President, I move that we adopt the strikeout.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? No? The ayes have it. Senator, we're ready for your motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that we pass it based upon the afternoon roll call.
Afternoon roll call's been requested. Anyone object to procedure? Court is voting no. Barnett? Barrett, I'm sorry. Senator Barrett, anyone else? Anyone else? Seeing none, bill passes. Thank you, Chairman. Chairman Parks. Chairman Parks. Chairman Younger. Chairman Younger. Would you ask Chairman Parks, it's her bill? No? Chairman Parks passes on 102 and 103. Chairman Tate? Chairman Tate, we're on 104.
I ask the title be read.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
House Bill number 1365, elections, prohibit state and local officials from soliciting and/or accepting private funds for.
I make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed, Senator.
I'd like to call up the strike all in lieu of the original bill and explain.
You're recognized to explain your strike all.
House Bill 1365 is a companion bill to Senate Bill 2413 that we voted out of this chamber earlier this year. Really, the only difference is that and what it does is it does not allow for private money to be spent in elections. There is one provision with the House version that it does not prohibit the donation of space for polling places, and that's really the main difference. I'll be happy to take any questions. If there are none, then I move for passage on the afternoon roll call. I move to adopt the strike all.
One moment. Questions? Any questions on the strike all? Seeing none, all in favor, adoption of strike all has been requested. All in favor, by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senator, we're ready.
Yes, sir. I ask for passage on the afternoon roll call.
Pass the afternoon roll call has been requested. Anyone object to procedure? Wish to be recorded as voting no. Simmons, D, no. Norwood, no. Barnett, no. Jackson, no. Frazier, no. Butler, no. Jordan, no. Butler, A, no. Thomas, no. Anyone else? Anyone else? Seeing none, bill has passed. Thank you, Senator Tate. Chairman Carter, pass on 105 and 106. Chairman Branning, passes on 107. Chairman Barnett, Chairman Barnett on 108.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that we call up that item and have the title read.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
House Bill number 1052, Mississippi Department of Corrections, provide for Deputy Commissioner for Workforce Development.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that we call up the,
You need
I'm sorry, Senator, make
your
use of the motion.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that we call up the strike all and ask Senator Parker to be able to explain.
Senator Parker, you're recognized to explain the strike all.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What House Bill 1052 does is it sets up a Deputy Director of Workforce Development within the prison industries. I've worked with Commissioner Burl Kane and Brad Lum from MagCorps, and their charge and their desire is to have someone who is tasked with actually working with Office of Workforce Development to look at reducing recidivism and just moving towards having a plan for people who are leaving the correction system ahead of time. This is not a new position. It's not a new pen. There's no money attached to it. Just a reorganization within the statute to show the commitment of corrections to meeting and working with this this important issue. They'll work with Office of Workforce Development. It sets an experience and qualification for the position to be someone who's familiar with both workforce development and with the corrections. And then it also gives them some measured metrics to do in the process too, including measuring the effectiveness of the current workforce development programs in the state correction system, partnering with educational institutes to look for high-skilled jobs that are available upon reentry, provide information to offenders on workforce development programs available, work with industry to meet their needs, look at what new things are popping up in industry, and develop short and long-term goals for the state related to workforce development and reentry. That is a explanation of this important position that corrections, I think, would like to see. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Senator Hobson, you're recognized for what purpose, sir?
Question, Mr. President.
You here for a question, Senator?
Certainly.
Please
Thank
proceed, Senator.
Thank you. Senator Parker, I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. It's not adding a new position, it's just changing and providing a title and new role for someone within the Department of Corrections.
Right, and they've had someone right now that's basically been working as kind of like the vocational rehab type of person, you know, who would assist people, for example, who had a vision problem or a hearing problem, and that role hasn't been, there hadn't been a big number of people in that, and they think that this position and this realignment can make it streamlined with no additional cost, no additional ask, you know, for appropriations on this.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Senator Parker.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
If there are no questions, I move adoption of strike all.
Adoption of strike all. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
I
Now
move
we're ready, Senator.
passage on use of the afternoon roll call.
Afternoon roll call has been requested. Anyone object to procedure? Wish to be recorded as voting no? Present. Thank you. Chairman Michelle. Pass 1-9 and 110. Retain the place upon the calendar. 111, Chairman Seymour. Pass. 111 retains its place on the calendar. Chairman Simmons. Pass. 112, 113, Chairman Branning. Chairman Branning. Pass 114 to 121. One moment, please. Okay. All right. Thank you, Senator Branning. She passes on 114 to 121. Chairman Turner Ford passes 122 to 126. Chairman Fillingane passed 127 to 129. Chairman Bryan. Chairman Bynum is recognized on 130.
I ask that the title be read.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
House Bill number 672, sexual assault kit regulate processing of.
I make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
I
Please
move
proceed,
adoption
Senator.
of the committee amendment, and I would like to explain the amendment.
You're recognized. Explain the strike all.
The House sent us a bill dealing with sexual assault kits and the processing of them. All of us wish to make sure that sexual assault is treated seriously and the evidence is all handled correctly from a procedural standpoint and a technical standpoint. The bill that came to us was rather detailed, and I'm not sure that all the provisions of the bill were really what we needed to do. So the strike all is a simple one-sentence provision that says the head of the Department of Public Safety will have a study and report to us. And so that's what the strike all does. And if there are no questions, I move adoption of the amendment.
Questions on the strike all amendment? Questions? Seeing none, Senator's motion's been made. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it, Senator.
I suggest use of the afternoon roll
Use of
call.
the afternoon roll call has been requested. Anyone object to procedure? Wish to be recorded as voting no. Present? Seeing none, we'll go to just one second. Chairman Parker, I think you're next. Let me get the page here. Chairman Hill. Chairman Hill, 131, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to call House Bill 1098 up and have the title read.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
House Bill number 1098, fire protection districts prohibit charging of fees when Board of Supervisors should levy special tax for.
Make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed.
I'd like to be recognized to explain the strike all.
You're recognized to explain the strike all, Senator.
Okay, what the strike all does is basically just clarified some language that the House had put in here. What we're trying to do is, there's one place in the state that has both a rural fire department and a rural fire district. And so what we're trying to do is prevent the double taxation or the charging of double fees to the same folks. So what this does, it says if a supervisor charges the fee on their tax statement for a rural fire department, then a fire protection district cannot doubly charge that same area. And it's unique to one place in South Mississippi. It was asked for by that county, and I'll be happy to entertain any questions.
Questions on the bill?
There are no questions. I'd
Seeing
like
none.
adoption of the strike all.
Adoption of the strike all has been requested. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed, Senator.
Okay, I'd like to recommend passage on the afternoon roll
Use
call.
the
of strike
afternoon roll
all.
call has been requested. Anyone object to the procedure? Wish record as voting no. Present? Seeing none, the bill passes. Thank you, Senator. Present, Senator McMahon. Present, Senator McMahon. Anyone else? Anyone else? Thank you. Chairman DeBar. Chairman DeBar. Passes. 133, 132, 3, and 4. Chairman Parker. Chairman Parker, we're on 135, Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to go to House Bill 1388 and have the title read.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
House Bill number 1388, Comprehensive Career and Technical Reform Act create.
Move adoption of make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed, Senator.
Now move adoption of the strike all and be recognized to explain.
Recognized to explain the strike all.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill is a result of a few years of work, and as I did in committee, I'd like to thank our Chair of Education, Senator DeBar, for working with me on this, as well as my co-chair on the other side, Representative Donnie Bell. But this is, it's called the Comprehensive Career Technical Education Reform Act. but it's a career coaching program for use in our school system. And so what this bill will do is it sets up or establishes a pilot career coaching program for middle and high school students to align academic work with work-based learning. This program within education will be run by Accelerated of Mississippi with MDES as the fiscal agent. It will provide that MDE and the Mississippi Community College Board shall work together to align career technical dual enrollment programs. And Section 4, it will provide that Accelerate with MDE, the Mississippi Community College Board, and the Mississippi State Research and Curriculum Unit shall establish a single list of nationally recognized industry certifications for use in the accountability system. It further amends in Section 5, and it changes from average annual wage in current statute to medial state income. And as Senator Hill asked in committee, basically it lowers the wage that can be used in this training program because Accelerate has seen that certification programs such as nursing assistants, practical nurses, and industrial maintenance technicians are worthy careers to train for that don't have as high a wage as that as the average annual wage in the existing statute shows. It goes on to require a report to come back, to the legislature on the results and how things are going. And Section 6, it requires Accelerate and the parties I mentioned before to inventory current career technical dual enrollment programs to promote high-wage, high-demand training opportunities, and requires Accelerate to work together with industry to develop new programs, link programs and credentials, and publish a list of certifications available, and review offerings and consider best practices. In Section 7, it requires the accountability system to include student performance on a career readiness assessment, such as the ACT work keys. Over the last couple of years, we've had a lot of different feedback on how that would be recognized and how that grading system would go. This just allows ACT work keys to be one of those that could be considered in this. Section 8, we're adding some things in here from Senator DeBar's bill, Senate Bill 2423. That bill is on the House side, but we wanted to make sure these were included in here as well. So that bill, to refresh you, provided that teachers may receive a supplemental endorsement like gifted education by either completing coursework or taking a relevant section of the praxis exam if available. It established the term expert citizen as a teacher who will have a high school diploma, industry certification, and 5 years of experience in the field which they are teaching, but does not require a bachelor's or master's degree. The reason for this is this example I've used before, you may have someone who's been welding for 20 years who's great at teaching welding, but did not have a bachelor's degree and never went to post-high school education. So this would allow them to work in the school system providing that service. In lines 1361 in Senator DeBar's bill, it also adds that language for reciprocity and for initial or renewal applications for teachers to be granted within 21 days. In Section 9 is requiring the administration of a career readiness assessment for any student electing to take it in grades 10, 11, or 12. And then in Section 10, it provides some new coursework to include items like technical writing, personal finance, soft skills, and for example, advanced technical math as new courses that could move towards the needs of these children. So that is an explanation of the bill. Again, I thank all the parties for the hard work on this, and I think this can make a very, very big impact on our education system. I'd be glad to answer any questions. If there are none, I'd move adoption of the strike-all.
Senator Hill, do you have a question?
Yes. Yes, I have a question.
Do you yield to Senator Hill for a question?
Certainly.
So this is a pilot program. Do we have any idea how the schools are going to be selected or how many or anything like that? Or when it's going to take place?
It's pilot in the sense that the schools don't have to do it, but it's not limiting it to any specific school.
So it's like districts of innovation, they can do it if they want to do it?
Exactly. They could all do it, the first year.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of interest out there. So
I think so too.
I actually don't like the word pilot in the legislation because I think that implies that we're going to do it in 2 districts and then see if it's working, but I'd like to see this done all over the state.
While the amendment was being scrolled on the screen, I quickly saw something that talked about, was underlined language, it talked about something about all middle schoolers will have to be given a list of career choices or something. Are you familiar with what that language is? Because it scrolled past before I could read it.
I don't know exactly the language you're talking about, but it's certainly not making it a requirement, and there's not be any test to put kids in this or something else. But if they do express interest in it, they'll be given the background. And that's where, one important thing for me on this was to align the Office of Workforce Development in this program so that they could get the data and they can get, the career information to these young, students that maybe they don't know in middle school that they might want to be, a journalist or whatever the.
Well, I know that in the past that they've been trying to put these kids on a career track in middle school, which I think is a little too early. I think high school is fine, but I think that trying to put a kid on a career track in middle school is a little too early, and that's why I was concerned about that language. But my other question was, what's the major change between this strike all and the original House version?
It wasn't a whole lot. The few things we took out, they had an acronym for the name of the program. We took that out. We inserted Senator DeBar's language from that Senate Bill 2423. And I can get you a list of all those changes. I've got it on my desk. But they were more technical changes with the exception of adding Senator DeBar's Senate Bill 2423.
Okay, thank you. I just got that language I was asking you about, and I'm fine with it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Senator Jordan, do you have a question? Do you yield?
Yes, sir, I have a question.
You yield?
Yes, sir.
Senator Jordan.
I was just concerned about the certification you mentioned a welder who may not be certified, just know the job. Explain it to me how you qualify.
So as a career coach, right now in the career technical, you still would have to have a bachelor's degree to teach basically anything. To be a teacher in our education system, you have to have the minimum requirements.
Sure.
Under this, in this, career coach mode, you could have someone who, has a high school degree, has, 20, at least 5 years of, experience in the field, who then would be teaching the occupation they do. So if they're an electrician who maybe doesn't have a bachelor's degree, they could educate our children in how to become an electrician and not have to go back to school and get a bachelor's degree in teaching, to do that. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yes. But I was just wondering what kind of influence with technology and everything is elevated now. You don't want to discourage them that they may not need it if they go into that profession. I didn't want anything to get in the way. I want young people to get as much education they can get and become as qualified as they can get for any position. I know some may not require that, but teaching it without one at this time may say to the student, I don't need to do any better. I don't need a degree or certified any more than this man who taught me. I don't know how that worked. Maybe it could be all right.
I'll go back to a conference I attended years ago where a young man who was working for NASA was on the stage and he was given his experience. He had graduated from high school and he had about 35 industry certifications in different things he had learned to do. And I don't remember what all of them were, but they were very unique tasks that he learned under the supervision of others.
Yes.
He had a booklet of these things, and he did not have a degree, but he had these certifications. And so what I want our children to know is that, yes, we want them to aspire to the highest education they can get to, but for the ones who want a quicker kind of path into employment. There are some great jobs out there that don't require a 2 or 4 year degree that we also want to encourage our.
Well, I agree with you. Efficiency is important, and I agree with you there. If they are efficient, then I guess that pretty well closes it in that line of work.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Senator Bryan, no question. Seeing no other questions, you'd like to move for the strike
Adopt
call?
the strike call.
Senator moves for adoption of the strike call. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed no. The ayes have it. Senator Parker.
I move passage on use of the afternoon roll call.
Senator Parker moves that we adopt by the use of the afternoon roll call. Anyone object to this procedure? Anyone wish to be recorded as voting no? Seeing none, please record all present by the use of morning roll calls voting aye. Item number 136. Passed. Oh, there you are. I was looking for you back there. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to go to item 136 called up and have the title read.
Please read the title.
House Bill number 400, writing bailiffs, revised salary audit.
Make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor say aye. All
Aye.
opposed no. The ayes have it. Senator Fillingham.
I'd like to call up the strike all amendment. Explain that, please, sir.
You're recognized to explain the strike all.
Thank you, Mr. President. So what this bill did in the House was for our courtroom bailiffs, their salary is currently set at $55 per day. The House bill changed that from $55 to $100 per day, but in the Judiciary B Committee, we changed that language to say from $55 to $100 per day, and the judge in that court would establish what the actual salary would be. The thinking behind that is we didn't want to just impose this since these are county funds on all the counties, because not every county may be able to afford the increase all the way to $100. So we wanted to leave it on a local level to make that decision. So we gave them a range from $55 to $100 per day, and the senior judge in that circuit or chancery court would make that determination. That's what the strike all amendment does. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions on the strike all?
If no questions.
We have Senator Angela Turner Ford.
Sure.
Question, you yield?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Senator
Mr.
Ford.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is it the judge who determines the fee as opposed to the supervisors?
Yes, ma'am. In the language of the strike all on, I think it's lines 11, any such person so employed shall be paid by the county on allowances of the court. So the judge, the allowances of the court, they sign an order setting that fee. I'm sure they'll do it in consultation with their Board of Supervisors, if they certainly should, but that's why we wanted to give some local discretion as opposed to simply just raising it, almost doubling it from the $55 to $100 without any local input. So the idea is to give, if they feel like they can afford $100 a day, great, they can do that, but if not, they could set it at somewhere lower than that, but still 55 or more, they can't go below the 55.
But is there any language in the bill that would allow the Board of Supervisors to decline or give any type of, nobody really wants to push back on a judge, I would imagine.
Right.
So I'm just wondering, where would the Board of Supervisors have latitude to review their budget and decide if this is a mandate that they can meet?
That's a great question, and I had the same one. I think the way it typically works, if there's a good relationship, of course, and that's an if, but the way it should work, just like with sheriff's departments and other things in the county, before they go and set a budget to spend X number of dollars, they do go to the Board of Supervisors and say, this is our proposed budget, and if there's an increase of X number of dollars, is that going to work for our budget? And if not, obviously they shouldn't do it, and certainly I'm sure this will probably go to conference, so, if the body sees fit to pass it, because we're making such a dramatic change from what was in the House language. So if that's something that you think we need to work on, I'm happy to work with you on some language for a conference report in that nature.
I think my supervisors would appreciate some sort of discretion.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing no further questions, Senator Finnegan, you'd
I
like to...
move adoption of the strike all amendment.
Senator moves that we adopt the strike all. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Ayes have it.
And I move adoption by use of the morning roll call, or afternoon roll call, rather. Sorry.
Senator Finnegan moves that we adopt by use of afternoon roll call. Anyone object to this procedure? Anyone wish to be recorded as voting no? Seeing none, please record all present by use of the morning roll call as voting aye. Go to item 137. Senator DeBar, pass. 138. 139. Pass. Go to item 140, corrections. You're recognized, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that we call up that item and have the title read.
Please read the title.
House Bill number 920, Inmate Welfare Fund, authorized portion of fund to be used to fund inmate incentive to work program.
Senator make use of motion.
Senator makes use of motion. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senator Barnett.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that we allow Senator Sparks to explain.
You're recognized to explain.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 920 gives the Department of Corrections the ability to create a program in which they would be able to pay inmates, eligible inmates for work while in the correctional facility. This money would come out of the Inmate Welfare Fund. That is Section 1, which is all new language. The Department in paragraph B will adopt rules and regulations necessary regarding the eligibility and the amount of payment to be received by the inmates for their work. Inmates who are unable to work or who are in some type of cell confinement will not be eligible. The other additional language would be on line 98, which is subparagraph B, is a portion of the Inmate Welfare Fund not to exceed $1 million would be up to $1 million could be put into the fund, and again, it's utilized to pay inmates who are participants in the Inmate Incentive to Work program. And then finally, on line 84, I apologize, I want to make sure I didn't miss anything, and yes, line 84, there's an underlined subparagraph A, but that's just simply because we added a B. That is existing language in paragraph A. I would yield to any questions at this time, Mr. President.
Are there any questions by the senators? No questions, Senator?
If there are not any questions, I move for passage on the afternoon roll call.
Senator moves we adopt by the use of afternoon roll call. Anyone object to this procedure? Oh, I'm sorry, we have a question. Senator Younger, sorry.
So we're going to pay the inmates to work?
This is something that the Department of Corrections has asked for, is to take a certain amount of funds from the Inmate Welfare Fund, and those people who are willing to work would be compensated in some manner, and they would have the ability to, I guess, spend those funds on the commissary or whatever they would like to do with it that is appropriate.
I thought the deal was they would volunteer to work off some of their time.
Well, if you're talking about trustee time, that's a completely different issue. This is paid out of the inmate welfare funds, but someone could be someone could be a trustee and they would be getting some earned time credit. There's multiple different ways that someone could work in the facility, but the commissioner had asked to be able to utilize some of the funds in the inmate welfare fund. In other words, this is not an appropriation in the sense of tax dollars being spent. This is money that is generated from the items that fund the inmate welfare fund, for instance, the phone program and different things like that. But it's just an incentive for the commissioner to offer to have people working within the facility.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Senator, excuse me, Senator Sojourner, I have a question.
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr.
You
President.
yield, Senator Sojourner.
I yield.
Senator Sojourner.
Thank you, Senator. I want to clarify, because I remember in corrections, there was a couple bills similar. This is not the bill that would allow inmates to go into the private sector and work, correct?
That's correct. This is on-site working within the facilities of the Department of Corrections.
And we would pay them out of funds that are in the department?
Inmate welfare funds. In other
Okay.
words, they would.
But it would not be private sector dollars coming, okay,
That's correct.
thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Hill, do you have a question?
Yes, please.
You yield, Senator Hill, for a question?
I yield.
Senator Hill.
In these local or regional jails, this wouldn't affect their trustee programs, correct?
No, Senator, I don't believe it would. This is strictly with MDOC, and, you know, again, they're going to have to promulgate some rules about.
That's my concern. I just don't want any unintended consequences for the locals.
Yes.
If he's shaking his head, I'm gonna hold him to it.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, seeing no further questions, senators move for adoption by the use of afternoon roll call. Does anyone object to this procedure? Does anyone wish to be recorded as voting no? Senator McDaniel, Senator Sojourner. I'm sorry. Good gracious. Buck, come up here and help me see these folks. Senator Tate. Johnson. Barrett. Seymour. Johnson. McClendon. DeVar. Is that all on this? Senator Williams, Senator Parker, Senator Kaufman, Senator Blackwell, Whaley, Branning, Chisholm, and Younger. Are there any others? Is that two? With only 16 noes, the bill is passed. All right, we'll go to item 141. Do record all others present by use of morning roll call, Mr. Clerk. Now we'll go to 141. It's Senator Bryan. You're recognized.
I ask that the title be read.
Read the title.
House Bill number 365, Mississippi Rural Hospital Loan Program establishing State Department of Health.
Senator Bryan.
I make the usual motion.
Senator Bryan makes the usual motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senator Bryan.
Mr. President, this bill is enabling legislation. It has no money in it. It is the authorization to establish a small loan program for very small hospitals to get relatively small loans, primarily to buy equipment with. I'm not sure that it solves all the problems in healthcare, but it at least is a vehicle and is an opportunity for some small hospitals to be able to borrow money long-term to buy relatively inexpensive medical equipment. The bill, again, just is an authorization for this program, and whether it's funded or not will be decided later by either appropriations or finance. If there are no questions, I suggest use of the afternoon roll call.
Are there any questions? Seeing no questions, Senator suggests use of the afternoon roll call for final passage. Does anyone object to this procedure? Does anyone wish to be recorded as voting no? Seeing none, please. Oh, I'm sorry. Senator Sojourner, Senator McDaniel, Senator Hill. Please, Senator Chisholm. Senator Williams. Are there any others? Seeing no other, well, read those names, please. Those voting no.
Voting no or nay, McDaniel, Sojourner, Hill, Chisholm, and Williams.
All right, seeing no others, please record all others present by use of order roll call as voting aye. The bill is passed. Go to item 142, universities and colleges, pass and retain. 143, insurance, Senator Michelle.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to go to item 143, House Bill 451, and ask the title be read.
Please read the title.
House Bill number 451, non-admitted policy fee, delete, repeal, or on.
I'd like to make the usual motion, please.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor say aye. All opposed no. The ayes have it. Senator Michelle.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to be recognized to discuss the strike all.
You're recognized to explain.
Senators, you have on the overhead a letter from our insurance commissioner. We've made great progress on this non-admitted policy fee legislation. You might recall that the Senate bill took the 3% non-admitted policy fee and sent it to our state and school employees' health insurance fund. Our insurance commissioner has been great help on this issue. The House has decided to put reverse repealers in most of our bills that have come out of the Senate Insurance Committee. So in order to keep this thing alive and take care of this issue, we have a strike all amendment that would divert of the non-admitted policy fee $8 million to the wind pool, and the remaining amount of the non-admitted policy fee would go into our state general fund. Of course, that way it would be available for our rural fire truck program, for our fire and apparatus grants, and we have several bills still alive on that subject. Also, to take the doubt out of the fact that the wind pool board cannot spend more in reinsurance than the amount of the premium income, you'll see on line 66 that we're authorizing them to do that. And what that amounts to is they're spending about $20 million a year on reinsurance right now, and that's close to the amount of the premium income from the policyholders. But in 2020, as an example, there was $6.5 million in interest and dividends on the fund. There were investment gains of $7.5 million. That's $13 million. Plus, there's $360 million cash on hand. So what we want to do is give the wind pool board all the tools they need to buy as much reinsurance as they think is necessary so that all the policy members on the coast are covered in the wind pool. So I'd be glad to yield to that and I move adoption of the strike all.
Senator moves adoption of the strike all. Are there any questions?
Sir.
All in favor?
You happy now?
Oh, you have a question. I'm sorry. Senator Sparks.
Question, Mr. President.
Senator Michelle, you yield for a
Yes,
question.
sir.
Senator Sparks, you're recognized for.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Don't know why I'm roaring. I apologize.
We're so close.
My question is that we are striking language as it relates to the rural fire truck programs that was.
No, sir.
We're not?
No. Are you looking at the strike all amendment?
Yes, sir. I think I am.
Okay, so I think maybe what you're seeing is one version of the old bill. In previous years, this body has diverted some of the money to the rural fire truck program. Some of the money, believe it or not, was diverted to our capital expense fund as well. Okay, but as the law currently stands right now, the money right now, the non-admitted policy fee is sent to the wind pool. And there is a repealer that will expire this summer. If we do nothing, then that 3% non-admitted policy fee will cease to exist.
And I fully support that, and I appreciate that. But in 2018, 19, and 20, some of that money was diverted to the rural fire truck, and I fully support the wind pool. I support the people on the coast, but as I've had this discussion many times, we have hurricanes, and when we do and the coast is impacted, we will all come together to try to support them. But we have fires in rural Mississippi every day, and I just want this body to also be committed to making sure that we put money in the rural fire truck program from some regular source of revenue.
Thank you. We have several bills alive in the Appropriations Committee to do that, and I encourage you to tell the chairman, I agree with you on that. We certainly need to take care of our rural areas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. President,
Senator Hill, do you have a question?
I do. I do.
You yield, Senator Hill?
Yes.
Senator Hill, you're recognized.
So the repealer's up on the not admitted fee, and whereas the bulk of the money's been going to the wind pool, it's now going to go to the general fund.
No, $8 million, the first $8 million a year will go into the wind pool.
$8 million a year, and then the balance will
Balance
go.
will go to the general fund.
And we've been collecting, what, 20 million?
It's been as low as 12 million this last year. In the last couple of years, it's been between 15 to 18 million.
Okay, see, my concern is the same as Senator Sparks. We keep punting around the rural fire truck fund, and people are giving us fits about it, and, you know, we've got to make sure that we do something that benefits these homeowners, because our fire ratings are what makes our insurance affordable. I'm already too far from a fire department, and that's part of what my problem is, where I keep talking about my insurance, but just help us commit that we're gonna fund these rural fire truck programs, and that, you know, we're not gonna have to be pulling our hair out in conference to try to find a line item where these fire truck money is. I'm just honest. I've been doing it for 10 years and I'm tired of doing it. I just wanna know where they're gonna be funded so that we're not having to scratch and scrape on conference weekend and try to find the money.
Well,
And I know it's not your fault. I'm not saying it is at all.
Well, what you're saying, and I agree with you, but the good news is, I think if we pass this bill, if the House will concur on it, then you'll be able to say that there is an annual annuity that's available that was not available last year to fund the rural fire truck program.
My concern is with it going in the general fund, everybody's gonna be having their hand out, and I wanna make sure that it goes to the fire trucks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing no questions, I believe the senator has moved that we adopt the strike all. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senator Michelle.
Thank you. Now I move final passage by use of the afternoon roll call, Mr. President.
Senator requests afternoon roll call for final passage. Does anyone object to this procedure? Does anyone wish to be recorded as voting no? Seeing none, please record all present by the use of the afternoon roll call as voting aye. Go to item 144.
I would like to pass that item and let it retain its place on the calendar.
Motion is to lay this item on the calendar. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The bill's been laid on the table. Is that what you asked, Senator?
No, I just wanted to pass it and let it retain its
Oh, you wanted
place
to
on the
pass. I
calendar.
misunderstood you. I'm sorry. We'll pass 144. I was trying to kill your bill there, Senator. Pass 144, go to 145.
Yes, I'd like to have the title read on 145.
Please read the title.
House Bill number 1056, Professional Counseling Compact Create.
I make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Ayes have it. Senator Bryan.
I would ask the chair to recognize Senator Blunt, who's waiting patiently in the wings.
Senator Blunt, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Chairman. This is a compact bill for licensed professional counselors. You may recall that we already have compact bills in place in the state for physicians, nurses, physical therapists, and EMS professionals. What the bill would provide is that if you have a license in a compact state, you would get a privilege to practice in Mississippi. And if you have a license in Mississippi, you would get a privilege to practice in that other compact state. That's important to give our Mississippians the right to keep their patients if they move to another state, and particularly as it relates to telehealth. If you have a patient you're treating in Mississippi and they move to a compact state, you can continue to treat that patient. This is a compact that is currently being considered in 18 other states right now, and Mississippi would be joining the compact if the legislation was to pass. I'll be happy to answer any questions, Mr. President.
Senator Moran, do you have a question? You pass? No other questions, Senator?
If there are no questions, Mr. President, the motion will be passage by use of the afternoon roll call.
Senator requests the use of the afternoon roll call, final passage. Anyone object to this procedure? Does anyone wish to be recorded as voting no? Seeing none, please pass the bill by the use of the afternoon roll call to show all is voting aye. Oh, Senator Moran, you...
Yes, thank you, Mr. President.
Recognized.
For get everyone's attention, over in the South Gallery, our very own Mr. Nathan Upchurch, Chief of Staff. Today is his birthday.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Go to item 146, Senator Bryan.
I ask that the title be read.
Please read the title.
House Bill number 927, newborn screening program, include those conditions listed on the recommended uniform screening panel within 3 years after listing.
Senator Bryan.
I make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senator Bryan.
Well, I was just thinking about Mr. Upchurch's birthday, and I was thinking about his job, what he does down here. And you know, it was only 1 year ago that he had another birthday. But I'll bet you he's aged a lot more than 1 year from the last birthday until...
Have we all?
It does not improve with age either. Where was I? Oh, yes. We have a list of several tests that are run on newborns. And these are tests which show a condition which, if it's treated early on, can avoid problems later. I think the first one of these was PKU, and I'm not about to try to pronounce it, but my understanding was there was a test which, if performed very early after birth, could determine a vision problem, which could be, if you test positive, you get the cure and you do not go blind. And there are fortunately tests like that. So there is a uniform screening panel. This would just, instead of our coming in and adding these one by one, it would the bill just says if it's a recommendation of the uniform screening panel, the state health officer would put that on the list. And if within 3 years it's not put on the list, there would be a report to the legislature about why not. That's all it does. I suggest use of the afternoon roll call.
Senator suggests use the afternoon roll call for final passage. Does anyone object to this procedure? Does anyone wish to be recorded as voting no? Senator Hill, you have a question? Do you have a question, or you wish to be voting no?
I had
Or
a question.
do you yield, Senator Hill? Senator Bryan?
Yes.
And I apologize for, this is not my area of expertise, but I vaguely remember the Senate bill on newborn screening. Does this give just like basically unlimited authority for newborn screening for X number of diseases, whether it be,
No, it has to be recommended by the newborn screening panel.
newborn screening panel? Is that part of the health department of the state of Mississippi, or where are they located?
I don't have the information right now. My understanding is it's probably a national group. I mean, there right now are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tests that are run, and we have consistently followed the recommendations of that panel.
I don't necessarily have a problem with certain tests, but I guess not knowing what the tests are or how they screen for whatever test they might add, that's my concern as to what they would be testing for. Are we like unique that we don't do this and other states do for other screenings besides the 6 that we screen for?
I think this is a fairly uniform thing across the country, and there are innocuous tests that are done which prohibit terrible consequences later in life. As the example I gave, there's a disease which is not common, but it does exist, PKU, which results in blindness if it's untreated. And I think my understanding is that if this is found shortly after birth, there's some sort of intervention, which just means this individual does not go blind. You can tell since they're only 6, and this has been on the books for a couple of decades.
Yeah, I mean, I know my kids were screened. I'm just curious as to know what new things that they might be, newborns would have to be screened for and how they do it. And it's just hard for me to turn it over to some agency without knowing what they're going to screen for and how they're going to do it. Thank you.
Well, we're in the middle of the roll call, and the time is now arrived for those who wish to vote no to do so.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that.
That is true. Senator McDaniel also had a question. Senator Bryan, do you yield?
Mr. President, we're in the middle of the roll call.
You're
We're taking
exactly
the
right.
no votes on
You're right.
final passage.
You're exactly right, Senator, and I was trying to be courteous, but you're exactly right.
I tried to.
Senator moves that we adopt the use of afternoon roll call. Does anyone object to this procedure? Does anyone wish to be recorded as voting no? Senator Hill is not voting. Please record all other present by the use of the afternoon roll call as voting aye.
I would ask that we pass the rest of the public health calendar and retain their place.
So that's items 147 and 148. And go to item 149, Medicaid. Pass and retain 150. Pass and retain 151. Accountability 152. Senator Pope. 151, I'm sorry, did you wish to bring up 151? Wait a minute. 151, Senator Barnett?
Thank you, Mr. President. I actually called up that item and have the title read.
Please read the title.
House Bill number 936, Hospice Care Services for Terminally Ill Inmates, authorize MDOC to provide those confined to facilities under MDOC jurisdiction.
Senator Barnett.
Senator, make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor say aye. All opposed no. The ayes have it. Senator Barnett.
Thank you, Mr. President. I actually call up the strike all and have Senator Wiggins to explain it.
Senator Wiggins, you're recognized to explain.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, this has a reverse repealer in it, and it sections 1 and 2 allow the Department of Corrections to run a hospice care program, which allows them to be confined in the facility, and it simply authorizes them to do that. Starting at section 3, it is the medically frail provisions that allow the parole board to parole to a medically frail inmate to the a special care unit, but it has to be they have to follow the regulations set out here. Can't be violent offenders, can't be sex offenders, can't be anybody like that. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions on the strike all? Senator Hill. You have a question?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. President.
You yield, Senator Hill.
Yes.
This is where they have to take care of them on MDOC property, or is this the one that they can move outside of MDOC property?
So what this bill, one part allows the hospice to do it on the property, and then the other provision allows MDOC to contract with outside facilities to provide those that care for medically frail inmates when they're paroled.
Can you go back over the parole section that you mentioned? Or what line is that on?
So if you look at lines 553, the state parole board may grant a medical parole and referral to licensed special care facilities paroled inmates for medically frail. We define what medically frail is: minimal threat to society, whose ability to perform daily living is significantly impaired, and then it goes on to say what that is, and they cannot be a sex offender, cannot be a violent offender, and they don't pose a public safety risk. That starts at lines 553 and
Is there anything in this bill that basically says if these inmates get better, they go back into the facility?
no, but as I've said before, when bills like this have come up, nobody that I know of thinks that these inmates will get better. They are terminal. And so they are, I don't know how they can get better.
Well, I just know some that have been petitioning my circuit judge to get out on medically fragile terms, and so that concerns me because.
Well, I will tell you, if they are petitioning right now under current law, I don't think that would apply.
Yeah, but that's what I'm wondering is how many of those are going to fall into this category and go ahead and get parole to these medically fragile places. And my concern is, are they going to go home, get better and go home without some mechanism in here that says if they get better, they got to go back and finish out their sentence? Because there's nothing in here that says they do. So that's just my concern. I don't mind treating people. It's just my concern that they may get better and go on home instead of completing their sentence. So,
as I've said, there's a model that's been very successful in other states, and that's not been the case. It's saved money. It's provided the care that is required that the state has to provide.
It's not that I'm saying I don't trust our current commissioner, but this bill under whomever may be the commissioner in the future, I certainly do not. But I appreciate you indulging my questions. Thank you.
And let me say, that's why there's a reverse repealer in here. And so my guess is that will be worked out in conference.
Senator Seymour, you have a question?
Yes, Mr. President.
You yield, Senator Seymour.
Mr. Chairman.
Maybe.
With this bill, hospice care being afforded to incarcerated inmates, is there some mechanism there for people who have not been incarcerated that are in need of hospice care?
I'm not sure I understand your question, but this is only for MDOC inmates, which it's only for MDOC inmates, and the state of Mississippi is legally obligated to provide and pay for the care to these inmates. And so this is authorizing MDOC at their request to do a hospice care for these inmates.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Hobson, question.
Yes, Mr. President, question.
You yield, Senator Hobson.
Yes.
Thank you, Senator Wiggins. On line 567, I think it is, a physical disability qualifies as medically frail?
A physical disability. Yeah, I mean, it says that's what it says there.
So if you've got a physical disability of any sort, you can get hospice care?
No, I don't think that's the intent. That's not the intent at all. I see what you're saying.
That's what the language says.
Yeah. That's not the intent of the bill.
A disabling mental disorder. So if somebody has mild dementia, they can get.
But if you look up, there's a definition of medically frail, starting at line 558. So you would have to qualify under that, which means an individual who's a minimal threat to society as a result of his medical condition, whose daily living is impaired and who may have limited mobility and has one of the following conditions. So it has to have one of those. So then if you look out over, if you look at line 615, it states that DOC shall appoint a specialist in the appropriate field of medicine to evaluate the condition of the inmate considered for parole and to report that condition. So I guess to answer your question, you have to read all that together, and they have to meet the definition of medically frail.
But if you've got a physical disability, it's hard for me to look at all of it on the screen, and I may be missing something. But what I want to know is if you've got a physical disability, or let's say a form of dementia where you could have that and probably will have that the rest of your life, you can qualify as medically frail and get hospice care.
Only if you meet the definition of medically frail.
Which is you're not expected to recover, and typically you don't recover from dementia or from a physical disability.
That's right.
So if I've got some physical disability and I'm not expected to recover from it, I might qualify for medically frail.
Right, and as it says, if it meets the definitions, minimal threat to society, whose ability to perform the daily living is significantly impaired, and who may have limited mobility. So you're physical and has a disabling mental disorder or a serious and complex medical condition or a physical disability.
That could be hundreds, if not thousands of inmates, correct?
I disagree with that, no, not at all.
What's this gonna cost?
The cost is going to say, well, first of all, this language right here is the 70-30 match. The feds will pick up the 70% of that. It's encouraged so that we can treat these inmates. I don't have the exact figures, but like I said to Senator Hill, this has been done in at least one other state in Connecticut, which has saved millions of dollars to the state and has provided the medical care that was needed for these inmates.
Isn't hospice?
And currently, we are already on the hook. I'm going off of memory, but we already spend hundreds of millions of dollars on medical care for MDOC inmates already that the feds don't pick up.
Isn't hospice care typically utilized when you're at the end of life?
Yes.
And that's not what the definitions in this bill say, is it? I mean, it seems a lot more. It seems a lot broader to me than just very end of life care.
Okay, if you look at section 1, DOC is authorized to provide hospice care services who are confined in the facilities, and then it goes on to define hospice there.
And you don't know what this will cost with the definitions the way that they are right now, do you?
I don't.
Okay, thank you. Senator Wiggins.
Sure.
Senator Hill, do you have a question?
I'd like to speak on the bill.
At the proper time. Any other questions? Senator Williams. Question. You have a
Question, Mr. President.
You yield, Senator Williams.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You may have answered this, but what do we do now with inmates that qualify under hospice?
They're taken care out there, and they're simply, from what I understand, and I think the chairman can answer the question more specifically, is you have a doctor who sees them. And then if they need something outside of that, they're taken in shackles and they're taken to see the emergency room or the doctor like that. This is allowing MDOC in the hospice care to do it there on the premises.
Thank you.
See no other questions. Senator Hill, you said you wanted to speak on the bill. Do you want to speak on the bill or the strike-on? On the strike-on, you're recognized to speak on the strike-on.
It's not a strike-on.
It's not a strike-on? It says strike-on.
Let me just make sure I'm on the right format. Line 153, section I, where it says special care facilities for paroled inmates means long-term and skilled nursing facilities licensed as special care facilities for medically frail paroled inmates formed to ease the burden of prison overcrowding and provide compassionate release and medical parole initiatives while impacting economic outcomes for Mississippi prison system. These facilities shall meet all Mississippi Department of Health and Federal Center for Medicaid CMS requirements and shall be regulated by both agencies, provided, however, such regulations shall not be as restrictive as those required for personal care homes and other institutions devoted primarily to providing medical services. Facilities will offer physical, occupational, and speech therapy, nursing services, wound care, dedicated COVID services unit, individualized patient-centered plans of care, social services, spiritual services, physical activities, transportation, medication, durable medical equipment, personalized meal plans by a licensed dietitian, and security services. There may be up to 3 facilities located in each Supreme Court district to be designated by the chairman of the state parole board or his designee. So I guess my concern is similar to Senator Hobson. When you go down there and look at what qualifies as medically fragile, a physical disability. My husband is one-legged. That's physical disability, and he's not going to get better. So if he was in the prison system, based on this bill, he would be medically fragile, and he'd be granted parole to one of these facilities. Yet he gets up and goes to work every day, and probably could get mad enough to me to, still be a pretty strong force, being missing a leg. So my concern is what I raised before, is it's a very broad terms for what medically fragile is, and we're creating 3 new hospitals run by Medicaid for these people who may have a little dementia, may be missing a finger, maybe missing an arm, a leg, a foot, a toe, or whatever. So whether it's got a reverse repealer in it or not, it's extremely concerning to me, and I don't see how it's going to save us any money. Thank you.
Senator, I think you have a question. You want to speak on it at the proper time. Are there any questions? All right. Senator Barnett? Now, we're talking on the strike all.
Yes.
So do you want to move for adoption of the strike all before you speak on the bill?
That would have to be Senator Wiggins, since he was explaining.
Move for adoption of the strike all?
Yes, move for adoption of the strike all, Mr.
Senator
President.
moves for adoption of the strike all. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Strike all is adopted. Now, Senator Barnett, speak on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. To this body, you just heard the argument from Senator Hill as to what the bill might do. Well, I don't want to talk about what might happen with the Department of Corrections. I want to talk about what's happening with the Department of Corrections. As the chair of Corrections, I have visited most of all of our facilities in the state of Mississippi. And I have seen these inmates who are nearly at the end of life, and some are in such physical conditions where they can't do anything for themselves. And this is costing Mississippi taxpayers millions of dollars a year to maintain or to be able to get any kind of medical help to these individuals. And trust me, we're not talking about individuals who Senator Hill said can have maybe missing or amputee or anything like that and can go back to work. That's not what we're talking about. It may be, Senator Hill, if you read it, this bill still has to go to conference, and there still has to be some things that are straightened out. But the intention is to take care of those individuals who cannot take care of themselves and who is costing Mississippi Department of Correction, costing the taxpayers of Mississippi millions of dollars. And many of us have sit in this very chamber and asked, why do we spend so much money on one of the most expensive boarding schools in Mississippi? And that's our Department of Corrections. Senator Little Chazanau, yes, I use your phrase. But that's one of our most expensive things that we spend money on is our Department of Corrections. And probably a third of that is used on medical care. So I'm asking that you all will pass this bill. Let's move it to conference and let's do some good for our state of Mississippi. Thank you.
Your request to use the afternoon roll call for final passage. Senator? Oh, Senator Sparks has a question before you make that motion.
Yes, I have a question. I think of Senator Wiggins. And I understand the questions about the definition of disability, et cetera. But my concern is, from a Medicaid standpoint, if someone is paroled into a facility or paroled and goes into a facility, if Medicaid, from a federal standpoint, doesn't pick them up, is the state not still on the hook based on the language of this bill?
Yes, the state's on the hook.
Okay. Or do we have, and I don't know these, I'll be clear, I don't know the answer to these questions, but it's concerning, is we're under a medical contract with the Department of Corrections for people to provide medical care, and we have 16,500 or so inmates, and that contract is in place. If we remove 300 to 500 of the most fragile and expensive inmates, are we going to be able to renegotiate that contract? Otherwise, it looks like we're paying twice for people that we've moved out of corrections. From a money standpoint, I'm all about saving dollars, but if the Division of Medicaid has signed off that they're confident people are going to be able to get on Medicaid, that's one thing, but the second part of that would be, are we going to get relief on our medical services contract in MDOC?
If I understand your question, nothing can be done that you're talking about without MDOC negotiating the contracts. So they're going to have to, I don't think they would double do that, they shouldn't, but there's language in the bill that I read earlier that says it authorizes them to contract, which also means it authorizes them to not contract with these facilities. It's not requiring anything, it's just allowing them to do this in DOC.
Okay,
To make that contract and put that in place for this to occur.
Right, and then as far as the contract with the nursing home, that's not the contract I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about the contract we have with the medical service provider in MDOC, one of the highest cost. If we pull the most fragile out of that program, are we going to be able to renegotiate that? How long of a contract are we in? That's the numerical thing I'm concerned about, is are we going to double pay?
If I understand it, I think we're paying on a by call basis, and I think there is no contract to address this. The reason you enter into contracts within this realm is to hopefully reduce the costs of that. That's why when we're talking about Medicaid, you talk about a capitated rate, okay? That's why they also call it a DRG. When you're doing it, you base it on a DRG. Per the chairman, right now what we're doing is if somebody needs cancer treatment, you go and call for a cancer treatment. It's not provided in any contract that's there. So it's expensive, as you've said. And so part of this is to try to get a hold of those costs. And this has been requested by the Department of Corrections to handle these inmates.
And I appreciate the Department of Corrections is requesting it, but has the Division of Medicaid weighed in on it? Have they said this will qualify, or do we have any guidance from the Division of Medicaid?
No, in that sense, but the feds, yes, are encouraging this across states to share the burden on the cost, because these costs of treating inmates continually go up. And so there's work to try to handle that.
Okay, but if the federal government doesn't allow this person to qualify the way it's written, the state's on the hook for these services for the paroled inmate.
We're already on the hook for these services.
Okay.
We spend hundreds of millions of dollars on medical care. It's probably, and I'm sorry, I don't have but I've handled the corrections budget. It is probably the largest budget item in the appropriations bill.
Okay.
That we spend on that, and we are legally obligated to provide that.
And then last question, whatever facility they go into, it could be an existing facility or a new facility. Is that correct?
Yes, okay. And how that gets set up. And I will reiterate what the chairman said. This is about medically frail. You don't get a broken finger and you go into this. This is medically frail, end-of-life, terminal inmates. A broken finger doesn't lead to terminal disease or terminal death. Okay? And these people will not be going back into they cannot be returned because they won't be able to do anything.
And my concern is really more, and you're much more versed in the Medicaid world than I am, but if the facility that they're going to go into, whether it's a new facility or an old facility, it will have to be a mixed-use facility. It can't be just inmates to qualify for the federal side of Medicaid, can it?
Now that I don't know, because I think my understanding is this is a program that they will convert on the licensed care facilities. They will convert those that are already out there to these special facilities for paroled inmates. They won't be in there with other non-inmates. That's my understanding.
Senator Hickman. Senator Hickman, do you have a question?
Yes, Mr. President.
Do you yield Senator Hickman for a question?
Yes.
Recognized.
Senator Wiggins, who makes the determination if someone is to go into this program or if they are deemed medically fragile?
On the hospice, it is the Department of Corrections there. Under the medically frail is the parole board, upon the contracting that we've been talking about, and under the law that's here. And then with consultation of the medical specialists that I read about earlier. So it's the parole board.
And so there is a group of people that would determine if an individual goes into that type of care. And is this the same group of people that determines whether an individual is paroled on a general basis anyway?
Yes, which are appointed by the governor on there, who we have a new chief, board member, chairman of the parole board, who was appointed by the governor. So yes, it's the same people.
So we can stand to reason that if they wouldn't just normally let them out in the street, they wouldn't put them into this type of care unless it was necessary.
That would certainly be the case, yes.
And does one have to be found eligible for hospice care and then found medically fragile? Or do they need to be found medically fragile, then hospice care, or is it either or?
No, it's either or.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Senator Hill.
Just one more question, please.
You yield, Senator Hill.
Senator Wiggins,
Senator Hill.
not this year, but maybe last year, or maybe the first year that we saw this bill, because I think it's died. Maybe this is the third year we've seen it.
No, Senator Hill, it's actually the second year, and it made it all the way to the conference, and it got caught up in something else. So
Well,
it's only been 2 years.
I know there was a bill that had 5 facilities in it one time that had very similar language in it, that passed through, that actually died, I think once in this body and once in the House, but
Not anything I had, not my bill or anything.
yeah, but it was similar language where it was medically fragile inmates, and there was going to be 5 nursing homes instead of 1 in each, well, maybe still 5, but I can remember that there was a lobbyist chasing me around wanting to know what my opposition was to this bill. And are you aware of any lobbyist or any governmental affairs people that are carrying this bill?
I have been told on the standalone, there's a standalone bill that they are interested in it, yes, but not at their request.
That would just be my concern, that if this is going to save the state of Mississippi money, there's got to be some profit in it for somebody, or they wouldn't be so interested in seeing this thing pass. So that's kind of how I gauge whether or not it's going to actually save the state money.
That doesn't necessarily make it a bad bill, and you have to, you know the lobbyists like I do, and I can tell you that Medicaid has more lobbyists and more people around. And so, you know, whether that's right or wrong, that's
I agree, and if Medicaid wasn't...
that's not the point of this bill.
If Medicaid wasn't profitable, we wouldn't have any lobbyists interested in this bill, and that's my concern along with Senator Sparks is, are we going to really truly be better off if we move to this than what we got now? So that's just something I can't answer.
That's a whole debate for Medicaid and all that. That's not what this bill is doing at all. This is about like I said, the hospice inmates and the medically frail inmates, and again, hundreds of millions of dollars that get spent on the obligation that we have to treat them. And speaking of obligations, it's our obligation to see where we can reduce costs for the benefit of the taxpayer and protect public safety.
We have more questions, Senator.
Okay.
Senator Seymour, do you have a question?
Mr. President, I got a motion at the proper time.
At the proper time, we're taking questions at this time. So, Senator Jordan, have a question?
Thank you, Mr. President.
You yield, Senator Jordan, Senator
Yes, Mr. Chairman, on average, how long does a person usually stay in hospice? This is the end of the road for these guys who never put in this predicament, in this category. This is the end of the road for them.
Correct. I don't know what the average is, but it can be short or it can be long. And it's very expensive.
I know it's expensive, but even though there's something called compassion too, with regards to what what the circumstances put him in that predicament, but there's no way that he can recover physically the reason he's put in this predicament, in this particular category. There's no way he can recover physically or mentally or whatever his condition is.
That, when you're in that state, that's correct.
So he's headed to the end of the road. So this is, so what the purpose of this is to save revenue?
Well, I think that, as the chairman said, the purpose is to address compassionately the health care, medical care that's needed, and yes, to address the costs.
Yes, so we want to save money, but I'm looking at it from a humanistic point of view that this is the end of the road for some poor character. And I don't know what they may have done, but there's something called forgiveness. And I don't see where the debate can be so long on something like this. This is the end of the road for those persons who are in those predicaments.
Agreed.
All right, seeing no further questions, Senator Seymour, you're recognized for a motion.
Mr. President, my motion is that we adjourn till 10 o'clock tomorrow morning.
And I think that's a proper motion. So, hold on, please. That is a proper motion. Jeff, proper motion in the middle of the debate. Motion by Senator Seymour is that we stand in recess, or we adjourn until 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. All in favor say aye. Aye! All opposed, no. No. The ayes have it. Then it will stand in recess or stand adjourned till 10 a.m. tomorrow morning.